Welcome back to the Survivor Series. 2 challengers up and 2 challengers down. How will the final opponent fare? Can Wimply continue his impressive winning streak, or will the deck be stacked against him? Let's find out. Okay, so on the left here we have our Nova Grappler player, Senshi, and Wimply is still on the right, not knocked out yet. He rides into a Soul Guiding Elf to start things off. Senshi's turn, he draws, and he moves back his Beast Deity White Tiger and calls a Tough Boy for a 13k. Wimply lets it on through and takes a Knight of Silent Skeleton as damage. Not really a big loss there. So he draws for turn and prepares to ride. He decides to ride into Knight of Silent Skeleton and call a second Knight of Silent Skeleton. So that's 3 copies of him right there. And now he has a little Sage Marin. So Gallatin attacks, and Senshi lets it on through as Wimply gets a draw trigger. Not an unusual sight today. Now a 23k column on Tough Boy, and Senshi will once again take it, losing a perfect guard unfortunately. So Senshi draws for turn. He rides into a Brutal Jack. He calls into a King of Sword. Looks like he wants to call something else. Looks like a Tough Boy and another Brutal Jack. So he has 3 attacking columns right now. This should be a pretty good assault. Starting off with the weakest, of course, Brutal Jack unboosted. This will just require a 5k shield, which Wimply will happily give up. A 21k from the Vanguard Brutal Jack. And Wimply just takes the damage there as Senshi drives a Moai statue. He gets a critical trigger. And finally, the King of Sword will attack for 18. And Gallatin will intercept. So that ends Senshi's turn, so Wimply can go ahead and stand his units and draw. As he rides into his primary Vanguard, Alfred, the King of Knights. He uses the Maiden of the Lake Lane to discard a second copy of Alfred to draw a new card. And then he calls his Twin Shine Swordsman. Normally that's a really good card. In this situation, while it's still good, it's not as good as it could be due to Nova Grapplers having so many 11k Vanguards. That doesn't seem to matter though, because Wimply will continue to draw his triggers. He gets a heal trigger, healing off. The score is now 3-1, and now there's a 25k attack column going after Brutal Jack. It will require a 15k shield from Senshi to get out of this. Looks over his hand, and he decides to finally take the damage. So he's down 4-1 as he gets a critical trigger there, which will not help him at all. So he stands his units, and he draws for turn, and rides into a Kaiser, which is the main focus of his deck. And even though he's down on damage, his field is pretty good. He got its Moai statue in front of a Tough Boy, so that's a 20k column. So we have an 11 on the Brutal Jack side, a 16 with the Kaiser, and a 20 on the Moai statue. The Moai statue attacks, which will force a 15k guard. Wimply will gladly take it. And we have a Kaiser attacking for 16, which will be a 10k guard. Wimply takes it. There's a stand trigger on Moai statue and a crit trigger. The crit goes on the Kaiser and the damage goes on Moai statue. So just like that, Nova Grapplers and Senshi tie the game up. There's another heal trigger, but since Wimply is ahead, it does not go off. A second 20k attack from the same Moai statue, which will force a guard out of Wimply's hand. And then finally, Brutal Jack will attack the Twin Shine Swordsman, because it cannot hit Alfred at this point. So it looks like Wimply's hand has been whittled down to 2 cards, and his offensive will probably be stymied a little bit. He gets a second copy of Alfred and uses its ability, so we can forget about that. He's going to call out another unit and fill up his field, still holding 2 cards in hand. And that's really the crazy thing about Nova Grapplers. They can actually, Royal Paladins. They can actually conserve their hand advantage pretty well just because of Alfred's effect. Keeping an extra card in your hand in this game is so important, and being able to call directly out of the deck is just huge. So here we go with Alfred on a Kaiser. A perfect guard will prevent the attack. Looks like Senshi had to discard a 10k shield though, unfortunately. And there's a critical trigger, so we have once again we're gonna have a 25k Twin Shine Swordsman, but first Alfred's going to go after the Moai statue. And Senshi knows he cannot let that die, but he also needs to be able to protect against the 25k attack.
I'll attack your Vanguard at 25.
He's looking over his last 2 cards.
This is 2 crit, yeah.
Yep, he guards with them. And he has to intercept with Jack too. So he kept his... Oh, it looks like he still has a card in hand. So it looks like he still has his Moai statue as a 20k, a 16k on a Surikaiser, and now a second Surikaiser and a Queen of Heart. So his field is full up, but his hand is empty. So here's a 16k attack. He's going to go for the Twin Shine Swordsman, which will finally die. A 16k attack on the Vanguard, which will be perfect guarded. And then there's a first check, a stand trigger on a Surikaiser, a second check, which is a perfect guard. And he really needs to finish this right here, but it does not look like he's going to. There's a 20k column on Alfred. And as a desperation, a Surikaiser goes after the rearguard Alfred, hoping that maybe he could stop the Royal Paladin assault, but that's not going to happen. So it's 5-4. Wimply goes ahead and he calls out a Maiden Lane, which will be more than enough to get over right now. Senshi really needed a well, Senshi did get a trigger there, but he uses his perfect guard, his hand is empty, and the last attack will get through with a critical trigger. And there it is. 2 damage, no heal triggers, it's over for Senshi. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the Survivor series. I would have liked to have showed you a wider variety of matches, but Wimply was knocking people aside like it was nobody's business. I hope you all enjoyed these matches. Feel free to like, favorite, and subscribe, as well as check out our blog. You can find a link in the description below. Thanks again, and this is Santo Taku. See you next time.